Hi everyone, this is Kelly from The Truth in Story, and today is March 1st, which is the first day of hashtag March of the Pips. And so I am popping on. I'm going to be doing some quick, I don't know if I'm going to do them every day, so I'm not committing to that. But I am going to, I might just do quick little draws, and then I'll try different methods of maybe of interpreting to practice with that. So I'm going to do my draw here online or on video for you, and also in this one talk a little bit about different ways that you might approach this working with the pips. Stay tuned today. So today is March 1st. I will have a video up about looking at the numbers. I have other videos, and in that video I'll try to link anything that I have that references working with pip style deck. I think I have a Marseille style, reading the Marseille pips, and that can also perhaps give you some insight as well. People obviously ask about books, and I do really love Yoav Bendov's Open Reading. Patrick, I know, has really enjoyed Jodorowsky's. I'll try to put links to these books in the description box. And there is also a wonderful website, a blog that Camelia, be saying her name wrong. She has a wonderful book that Patrick is reading that is quite similar. He says it's quite similar to some of the ways that I read, because it comes a little bit more from that sort of read what you see, not laying a lot of correspondences on. And she has a really great blog, and I will link that below because that could have some helpful information. And she also has a book. So I'll try to put a couple of those selections in the description box below. And then, like I said, I will be putting a video out today on March 1st that walks through 1 through 10 with a way of looking at it. And I'm going to do a variety of different ways. I traditionally do a blend. So I do a blend of you know, what hits me when I see the cards. So that's that intuitive, what are those cards, one card, two card, three cards, what do those three cards say to me just when I see it? So that's kind of the first hit. Then I do look at the numbers. So I'm looking at what is if a pip is involved. Because the majors are easy, right? They're the same as what you're used to, pretty much. So I then look at the any numbers and what is the suit. So I do a lot of numerology plus the element. That's one of the ways that I layer it in. And then I also, I start to think of like, okay, so what are some of the traditional meanings for this card? What is this card in light, and what is this card in shadow? So that's kind of like, I do like that little, you know, obviously it's happening in your brain quicker, but that's kind of what I usually do with pip cards. And as people will ask, you know, what is a pip card? A pip card is a non-scenic. That's how I'm defining it, because it does have illustrations. If there's anything on the card, it is an illustration. And so it is, but there's no scenes going on. And very often there are some that kind of are at the boundary that do both, but for some degree, you're not getting an image that is telling you the meaning of the card. So it keeps it more open. So I'm going to be using today the Ancient Italian Tarot, which is the Soprafino Tarot. I'm using this one because my current favorite, which is the Neoclassical, is on my table. And it's also why I'm using the webcam, because I'm working on that number video. So I'm going to try to get that up today. But I wanted to get this out so that anybody doing their draws has at least a little bit of a... this is my first draw of March. So I'm going to go ahead and flip the camera down, and that way I'm going to do my actual draw. We'll take a look at things, and I could do a couple ways that I might look at those particular cards. And then stay tuned. It's maybe for some of you who have never used a pip deck, right? At the beginning you might feel like a little unstable about it, just like with Lenormand last year. But hopefully by the end of March, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable, have some different options on how you could approach reading with pips and see what might resonate with you, because everybody's different in how they are going to be doing it. And you can also have a book next to you, right? You know, you can start from a place of what do you understand that card to mean right now, and you could look it up in whatever tarot book, even a Rider-Waite-Smith, and just say, okay, this is kind of what I understand the meaning of based on how I've read before. Now, what are some, you know, maybe I'll try some of these other things that other people are reading style with these and see if anything resonates. And so don't stress about it. It's supposed to be stress-free. It's supposed to just be a fun way to get a little more comfortable with pip style decks. So I'm going to go ahead and flip us down. Okay, here we are. We're going to, this is again the Ancient Italian Tarot from published by Lo Scarabeo. This is still a deck that you can get a hold of. There's sometimes variants on the back. And this is a gorgeous deck. It's one of my favorite Marseille style decks just because the artwork is so beautiful. The pips have lots of scrolling and vegetation, and just, it's got beautifully illustrated. And so this is a reproduction of the Soprafino Tarot, which is from, I don't think I have the box right here. No, I do. I think 1830 something. Let's look here. I wrote it on 1835. And so that is what this one is one that you can readily get, and is one of my two favorite Marseille style decks. So we're going to go ahead and use this and give it a good shuffle. Let me get out real quick though, which I have right here, maybe. So here's my bullet journal. As you all know, I'm a big fan of bullet journaling. And so you can see, and on my collection page, I have my list of very poorly drawn playing card symbols. I did that late last night. It was a mistake. So I have a section with our like collections and things. I was just able to fill in Rhapsody and start Prophecy. But I have a list of the keywords. I will write these out in the description box below. There are images on my Facebook as well as on Instagram, you know, like an image that Patrick made that has all of the keywords listed, but I'll go ahead and type them underneath here in case somebody wants to copy and paste them. So I'll go ahead and do that. But I have that right here, and then what I will do is just kind of add, list the cards that I pull. I intend to pull probably 3 cards. I don't tend to do a lot of 1 card pullings unless for some reason I don't do it a lot. More so with Oracle than I would with tarot. So I have it here, right here. I do apologize again. I know this isn't pretty backing, but this camera does best focusing on the cards. If it's a white background, I use this more for my tutorials, but that's okay. I didn't want to mess up what I had going over there with the numbers, so I can get that done today. Okay, some of the ways that you can approach a challenge that has keywords is you can, I do it usually 2 ways. You can allow the keyword to suggest a question for you. So for example, today our keyword is beginning. So what are some energies that are just beginning for me? Could be a question. Because this is the first a beginning of a cycle, I will often do something like, what do I need to let go of from last month? What do I need to hold on? And then what kind of energy am I going to be paying attention to moving forward? So that's a nice thing to do at the beginnings. I do that at moons, new moons, full moons, and like a beginning of a month like today. So you could actually have sort of a position put in there. Or you can also just pull a card or pull 2 cards or 3 cards, whatever is your preference, and see what does that mean to you in conjunction with that word. What is the message coming out using the keyword almost like another card, right? It says, how does this keyword with these cards, what does that have to say to me in a kind of open-ended way? Now, the one website that I was talking about, and let me get what the name of that is. So the name of the blog post, or the blog site, is Taroflexions. I think that's what, yeah, Taroflexions, by Camelia Elias, Elias. And she has some really clear, clean, doesn't get kind of muddied up with correspondences and things. Kind of read what you see, kind of tell the story that the cards show. And so I will put a link there, but she also does a reading that that Itzy had shown me, although I think I read about it on her blog. I've been reading her blog for quite some time. And where you do a 3-card, and then you have a card for do, and you have a do this and don't do this, which is kind of nice because it gives you an actionable, something actionable. So that's what I'm probably going to be using for the most part. And I'm just looking here, it's the beginning of spring. It's the beginning of March. I'm just going to be looking at the word beginning, right? And seeing what message comes up for me and what that's generally what I'll do with 1 cards. Unless that simply asks, brings up a question. It's like, oh yeah, I should, that makes sense. It's about duality. In what areas am I struggling with duality or polarity? If a particular question comes up because of it, then I will focus in on that. But I'm just going to focus on the word beginning. And I apologize for Isabel. She is all worked up. To try to figure this camera out. 3. So there are my 3 cards. Let's go this way. And then I'm going to pull a do, and then I'm going to pull from the bottom a don't do. And see just what that, we're playing here, right? A little bit of playing here. So for me, the keyword is beginnings. When I do 3 cards, I very often look to the center card to give me a theme. So kind of like with a 9 card, I look to the upper left as sort of the overall theme, kind of the core message. That's what I personally do with 3 cards if I don't have positions in place. So I look to this, and I have the Ace of Swords, and what's interesting is that this is my card of the year. This is a gorgeous Ace of Swords, isn't it? So this is my particular card of the year, and it's about it's the Ace of Swords. So it's new ways of thinking. It's not just new though, it's the potential of thinking. Like there is a potential of new ways and growing ways of using my mind and thought processes, as well as communication. How are these things that are coming up? And this is my card of the year, so it's time to focus. And that's interesting because I have been focusing a lot on my Sabbath cards. So I had the Knight of Pentacles, which for me said active grounding. I had that all throughout the season of Yule. Right now in the season of Imbolc, for me, I have the Seven of Swords, which is very much about dig a little deeper, what's going on underneath the surface. But I haven't really been paying a lot of attention to my card of the year. And so this is kind of a reminder that says, hey, in the midst of all the other things, don't forget to be thinking of new ways of thinking. What is my potential, right, for communication and for communicating my thoughts and my ideas? Not just having thoughts and ideas, but also communicating those. So that's kind of, for me personally, that just kind of jumps up, which is kind of what I like when I do this like free association. What does beginnings mean? Okay, it's time to start focusing on that area of energy as well. And then on either side of this, the main card, of course, I have sort of giving me more information. And so here I have the Wheel of Fortune, or the wheel, right? It's a reminder, and this is an important reminder for me for March, because March is very much for me a difficult month. It's my son's birthday at the end of the month, and I just, since he's passed, I have a very difficult time in March. It just is what it is. Last year I worked with it very specifically, and worked every day with readings that was geared towards dealing with that situation, and it was very helpful. And so this is just kind of reminding me that the wheel turns, that the wheel is ever turning emotionally, when sometimes things are up and sometimes things are down, and that's okay. That's just part of the cycle. But I'm at the beginning of a cycle, because this to me is about turning of the wheels, right? And so for me, in terms of my grieving process, I'm at the beginning phase of a process of a difficult downswing for me. And what am I going to do about that? And I quite like that I have the Knight of Swords here, which again is a reminder to be proactive. And also in regards to the reminding me to focus on my card of the year is again also being proactive. What new modes of thinking, what new modes of communicating and working with the different energies of the mind that I'm going to be working with. Be active about it, right? Keep things changing, keep moving, keep coming up with new ideas, keep moving forward. It's the beginning of a fresh start. You know, it's the beginning of spring, it's the beginning of March. It's that, and I know the actual beginning of spring is not until the 21st, but it's feeling already that spring air about. And so that's kind of what I get there. So I'm just looking at these cards in relation to the word beginning, and just seeing what does this say to me, in kind of a stream of consciousness. What does that say to me? And if I look at this as a sentence, okay, it's time for a change of thought, right? It's time for a change of thinking, and it's time to actively go out and actively work with those thoughts. Don't just keep my thoughts in my head. Don't just kind of keep internal, but go out there, you know, lead the charge and go out there. If I'm just looking at it as a sentence to say to me, right? So there's different ways that you can approach that. And then I really like the do's and the don'ts, right? And so one of the things that's interesting is that in a time of change, in a time of fresh beginnings, in a time of activity, I do still need to stay grounded. And this is something that has been a theme this year already. I know it's just been 2 months, but for me, I'm very often strongly in my own head, and I strongly can just kind of get out of whack and get all out over the place sometimes. And this message of grounding is, for me, is coming up over and over again. So it's like, okay, you're at the beginning of a cycle. We've got new things we got to focus on, but we want to go out and actively be doing, but at the same time, stay grounded, stay grounded, stay grounded. So you say, okay, why do I see grounded with the 8? And we're going to talk about numbers. We're going to talk about numbers, so stay tuned for my video, right? But for me, 8s are, so the number 4 is about stability. And so here we actually have 4 plus 4. And you can just see the structure here, right? You can see that structure of double 4. That's a solid, or if it was a table with 8 legs, right? It's going to be really solid structure. And so I just think about that really strong sense of stability here. So one of my keywords for the number 8 is actually about structure. Now, number 4 is that first sense of stability, right? But it's not really stable, because you're going to be next is coming the 5, right? Where the 8s is following by the 9, which you're kind of almost there, dynamic pushes, and then 10, you've made it. So I really, for me, the 8 can be very much about structure and stabilities, and just for me, Earth, Pentacles, groundedness. And so that's why when I see this, I think, oh yeah, you got the double 4s here. It's the Pentacles, it's Earth. I need to stay grounded despite all the change and movement, despite needing to get out there and not just stay in my brain, but, you know, go out there and push and have things coming outward. I still need to stay grounded. I still need to have that sense of structure. I also think even this is the figure for populace in geomancy, which is that idea of getting energy from other sources, which I think is also, so that's jumping into my own mind, of course. Just what are these things that jump to your mind when you see it? And for me, it's geomancy. So I also think, you know, allow other people to help, allow other people's energy to help bolster me during what's a very difficult kind of emotional roller coaster month, allowing the energy of other people who are so supportive to also be able to come through. So there's just things that come up, because I think, okay, what does this mean with do? Now, I love Two of Pentacles in pip style decks. Look at this one. It's so gorgeous. I don't even know where to hold this. And this is definitely, this camera is washing the color of this deck out. So it's not a great example of it. I'll try to compensate when I edit it. But I always look to the Two of Pentacles. I love the Pentacle suit in Marseille style or pip style decks. So that's to me about balance, right? But it's saying don't do this. So I can look at this a couple different ways. I can say don't get out of balance, right? If this is about balance and it's in shadow in a don't do, that means don't allow myself to get thrown completely off balance, right? I can also look at this as seeing, you know, you kind of have two kind of split apart by these things. So I can also say, you know, don't get into an either or mindset, but this is still Pentacles. So to me, this is still about groundedness, earthy things. My everyday life needs to stay in balance. Whoops. And now my screen is going, there we go. So I see this as don't get out of balance. Don't get a polarity going where I've got you know, friction of energy versus a balance or a duality. Not allowing there to be two sides to one coin, right? That there are parts that are going to be difficult, there are parts that are going to be good, and I don't need to segregate those off. So I think of this because it's a don't do. So I kind of think of this card in shadow. And so I think of that idea of balance and don't get myself off balance, and don't let myself be my emotions be polarized, where I might, you know, be really, really here and then really, really there. And it's just this really polarizing effect versus okay, let's keep things in balance. We've got this sense of the life goes on and the wheel keeps turning, in this sense of the eternity symbol around it. Stay with the flow of things. Don't let things kind of get split up and polarized within myself. So basically a message that says, don't get off balance. So do stay grounded, don't get off balance. So I don't know if this is helpful. This is what I see when I look at this, because I haven't asked for a specific question. I'm just using these in terms of the word beginnings. And so for the beginning of March, for the starting of that feeling of spring, focus on my year card of the year. Focus on new ways of thinking. Focus on new ways of communicating the things that I'm thinking, right? And you know, remember, you know, you're kind of in a period of this is going into a difficult swing for you. So it's kind of a reminder for me. There's a difficult swing. Stay proactive. Stay active in that, you know, the beginning phase is kind of set up a grounded rhythm that's going to help me. Again, if I read it just as a sentence, I'm looking at, right, change. This is a new cycle, right? A new cycle that indicates a time to think things through differently, come at things from a new way, a new beginning, new beginnings, new ways of thinking. And again, stay proactive. Don't just sit on your heels, but go out there and stay proactive in this situation. Stay grounded and don't get unbalanced. So that's how kind of I'm reading this for myself for March 1st. So I just wanted to come out and do my reading not live, but I was going to do it live, but I thought it would just get way too long because then we have to chit chat and everything. So I decided to do it this way, but I wanted to go ahead and do this. You can pull one card. Obviously, I don't want to take a picture of that, so I don't want to shuffle those in, but you can just pull one card, right? I find that especially with pip decks, I really do like to to, you know, have more than one card to play off of each other so that you can read what you see. You know, what does this mean? Because if it's just the 7, well, then you can sit there and think about, you know, what does the number 7 mean? What does the sword suit mean to me? You know, and start to kind of layer onto it. But I do like to have cards to be able to talk to each other. So I personally would recommend at least 2, and I'm a really big fan of 3-card readings, because then you can, again, get your kind of core theme here, and then see how do the other 2 cards relate to it. Or you can read straight across, kind of Lenormand that just says, okay, this says to me in a sentence, if I just don't think about it too much, this is what this says, right? So that's how I would approach it. Again, we're going to have different people start to look at people's Instagrams. They'll be hashtagging March of the Pips, and you can click on the hashtag and see people's readings and how they're interpreting it, and start to get ideas of how you might do that. But as far as with keywords, either allow the keyword to invoke a question for you, or just use that keyword with the cards that are drawn and say, okay, what does that say? If it's about beginnings and these are the cards that I've drawn, what does that say to me? You know, allow your intuition to kind of say, okay, this is the message coming through. So, and we'll be seeing, I'll be doing these every day, and so you'll, you know, get various ways in which we might approach the cards. But I hope that this is helpful. I'm really excited about March of the Pips, and excited to see people have already been posting their decks and things of that nature. So I'm really looking forward to watching what everybody gets up to, and doing lots of videos about pips. So have an absolutely wonderful day.